All right, everybody. Hello. I'm here. This is me a couple days ago looking at the alpha. So, knowing me, the first thing I did, I heard word on the street was that Windwalker class and spec tree were completely redone, and oh boy, were they. There are a ton of really cool things with it, and I think the way I want to do this is I want to kind of go through the tree and look at some choices with you and kind of fill it out with you as if like we were filling it out together on what the best thing were or what the best thing is, and then maybe we can see some of the choices that you can make and how much choice you really have, especially in the class tree. And then there's a bunch of cool stuff in the Windwalker tree. I'll give you a little taste of it. So like just right off the bat, you get something where Fist of Fury's damage is increased by 100% of your haste, and Fist of Fury does 10% more damage each time it deals damage, resetting when it ends. No more canceling fists, right? Also, Windwalker, huge problem for a long time, is that haste does nothing for you, and because of that, this spec needs, maintenance buffs the whole expansion because just one of your stats does nothing. This is a good way to combat that, right? Generally speaking, anytime verse is your best stat, it means your stats stink. So then going all the way, I mean, I kind of want to just talk about everything here, but like they gave Whirling Dragon Punch some buttons that, make it a lot more valuable. Oh my God. Strike of the Windlord gives you a Mark of the Crane on all enemies and gives you a big Rushing Jade Wind, which by the way is no longer an active ability. Awesome change. Also becomes struck, your abilities do more damage, cooldown reduction on it, and just a bunch of other things that I think are really, really cool. A few things I don't like, but 99% positive. Just a little bit of a spoiler. This is probably the most attention and love that Windwalker has ever gotten in one single change. This is crazy good. So I kind of want to start with the old tree and where a lot of the stuff, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but just stuff where I thought there was a lot of problems, right? So like just right off the bat, the class tree, right? You had to get Soothing Mist to get an extra roll charge. Makes no sense, right? For multiple specs. The totem philosophy just totally never worked. They got some Touch of Death nodes in here, which is fine. A lot of these nodes, it just felt like they wanted to shoehorn this in, but none of the specs even really like their own totems. Maybe they're situational, like the Brewmaster one, or they're completely uninspired extra globals, like the Summon White Tiger statue one, which they worked on. Jade Serpent, obviously, for Mistweaver only. And there's just a lot of pathing stuff that was weird, but, just overall, just like 2-point nodes for no reason. Crazy huge, required raid buffs. That you had to spend, if you were a monk in a raid or in a dungeon, you had to spend 4 points in your capstone level just to get, barely required, raid buffs, right? And then the class tree, don't even know where to begin, right? Like, Spiritual Focus, really cool idea. Locked behind a Touch of Death node, no reason why. Jade Ignition would be awesome for Dance of Chi-Ji. Locked behind an Inner Peace node you would never take. Rushing Jade Wind, talked about this already. Not a huge fan of Jade Fire Stomp. AoE Touch of Death was a big problem this expansion. Just fake damage. Like, it made your damage look good, but it just wasn't important damage to be done. Most of the time, at least. And then they brought back Whirling Dragon Punch, but it just seemed like they kind of put it here, and they didn't really think much about how it was going to interact with your rotation now that you play with Swen's Battle Gear, which previously was like a Shadowlands Legendary, or PvP talent, one of those two. But they baked this into the class now, and it is like this kind of... The way I look at Swen's Battle Gear is that the reason why Whirling Dragon Punch felt so good in your rotation before, Swen's Battle Gear does that and more. It's just a great, great button, but they've added a little bit to Whirling. So I don't want to spend too much time in the past. Let's talk about the new trees. And then just right away, you'll see at the top, we have Shadowpan and Con of the Celestials here. I'm just going to do that in a different video. Certainly, the way that these interact with your class is pretty significant, but I just want to look at the class and spec trees today. So I already built this by myself. I want to build it together. Let's back it up, and let's talk about the new choices in this tree. And there may be some things I miss. I haven't looked at this for too long. I haven't spent a ton of time on it, but I just was so excited about it that I had to make a video. So let's do it. So you're Windwalker, right? First thing you want is Tiger's Lust. Makes sense. If you have Rising Sun Kick, okay, this thing makes your Rising Sun Kick do 70% more damage. Sounds good. All right, cool. Where do we go from here? So we have a couple more nodes. Reduce all damage taken by 3%, say less. And then we're going to get into some new stuff here. So while you're out of combat, your movement speed is increased by 15%. Beautiful for leveling and stuff like that. But let's just say this is for me wanting to do PvE at endgame. We're going to take our kick almost all the time, right? We have 4 more points to spend. We have a ton. All this stuff over here is like kind of healing based. It is nice to have that Insta-Vivify as Windwalker, but maybe we'll skip it, right? Roll and Chi Torpedo travel a small distance further. This is kind of a problem if it's like random, but if it's all the time, you'd get used to it and know exactly where to do it. But let's talk about some new things. So right here, there's a choice node between Disable and crashing momentum. Another early class tree issue before was that you got Tiger's Lust, and then to get Fort Brew, unless you wanted a reduction on paralysis, you had to take Disable, but in PvE, you don't really use it a lot, which is kind of weird. Here, they put it right here with another new one called Crashing Momentum. Targets you roll through are snared by 40% for 5 seconds. There's a node after this that gives you a little range on Disable, but also makes this snare increased by 3 seconds, and it's now by 20%. You have a 60% snare. Very, very rare to find in the game to have a consistent snare above 50% slope. Makes Monks pretty unique in that way. Kind of nice. Okay, so that's pretty fun. Let's play with that. And maybe we'll get the node with it too, because we still have 3 more to spend. And then here's one. Paralysis now removes all enrage effects from its target. There's no AoE paralysis to compete with like evokers or anything, but you know, it's just there. Now you see improved touch of death is down here. Maybe we grab one thing of ancient arts, which is just reduces the cooldown of paralysis by 8 seconds. And leg sweep by 5. Paralysis, kind of situational. But leg sweep, you know, most scenarios you would take that. And then we need a way to path down over here maybe. So maybe we'll just take the out-of-combat movement speed for a while. And we'll come back up here to grab the roll stuff we need to later. How I'll look at it, Transcendence, Iconic Monk ability. I'm just going to take that all the time. This one is a node after Spearhand Strike where... you know, if you know you're kicking a lot, it could be really good by reducing roll, but not necessary all the time, so we'll leave it. You guys know this choice node, same old, Chi Torpedo versus Celerity. I am a regular roller, if possible, so we might take that. We'll leave Chi Burst for now, see what else we have under here. We have Ring of Peace. You don't always need this, but most PvE times it's a pretty good spell. Let's grab it. Another thing, Transcendence Transfer is now a 70% snare. I think that might have been in there before, but just from like a... not great node, and then now I kind of immediately just want to get into the defensives. Okay, so as you can see, you probably noticed this, Dampen Harm is gone, but they built a lot of that power into Fortifying Brew. So there's defensive bloat in this game just in general, and I'm looking for them to nerf that across, you know, all specs, but also just reducing the amount of buttons is good for most players, and Monks just have a crazy amount of defensives. So just right off the bat, you have Fort Brew is now a, well, actually, it's not a 1.5, I think it's a 2. It's just because I had this selected earlier. It is, I believe, a 2-minute cooldown. Let me actually just double check this real quick. I might be wrong. Hold up. Still says 1.5. I don't know. It's one of those two. But before I thought it said 2, and then I selected this 30-second node, and then it kind of went down a little bit. So I'm just going to uncheck everything here and come back to this in a bit. But I don't think that's where that is. But okay, so Resonant Fist, you have same thing as before. It was at the bottom of your tree. You now get that value just for the 1 point. It's on the way up. It's not tied to that. Fortifying Brew will take that again. You have a 20% health increase and 20%. Oh, it is 30 seconds. Okay, so this is the with. It's just an alpha UI thing. This is a 1.5 minute, 20% maximum health and a 20% DR. What you can do is grab a choice node under it to increase that to 30% on a 2-minute, or you can keep it on a 1.5 minute and have it be 20%. Very similar to like the Astral Shift choice node. This one is just for cooldown reduction on Ring of Peace. I think that's kind of very situationally dependent. We'll probably keep that away for now. Diffuse Magic, you can go for something that gives you basically like a 10% absorb at all times. There are probably fights where that's really good. Maybe in like the world first race, because like there's things that like constantly one-shot you, and you just need to live, and maybe there's a fight like that. Diffuse, I think almost all of us would take, right? Let's go ahead and take Improved Touch of Death. We'll skip this. Seems like a Brewmaster node. And then now we have 5 more points to spend to unlock the capstone level, right? A lot of stuff to choose from here. We don't know if we're going to need the kick. The range on leg sweep by 4 yards could be really good. Let's grab Chi Burst. And then now we still have 3 points. This is a duration of snare effects on use reduce, which is super interesting. That's actually, there's a troll racial that did that, and there was like a mythic end boss, Jaina, that gave you like a stacking dot, but for people who had the snare reduction troll thing, it like was able to fall off because of its duration. So maybe some weird stuff like that for monks. But otherwise, kind of not super important. Let's go back up and maybe look at some other nodes, right? We have some points to spend. We have the whole bottom of this unlocked if we want to. Let's get that extra leg sweep reduction now that we have the increased range. Right, let's grab the roll and Chi Torpedo distance, and maybe this is a dungeon where having a Dispel is super clutch, or increasing all healing taken will just make you feel a little safer. All of those kind of make sense. You could grab multiple. As you see here, there's just a lot of choice. You don't need many of the things we've gotten, right? You get what you need really easily, and you just have a ton of choice. This is most really good class trees do this. I think maybe Shaman does it maybe among the best, and it's one of the ones that's been out for a long time. Okay, so I don't really know what else I need here, but I'm just going to go ahead and grab Expel Harm Healing Increase and the Critical Strike Increase, even though I don't think you'd take that, but just so I can highlight every option and go for everything. All right, so under that, we talked about the choice node. So let's go ahead and say in most scenarios, a 20% health increase and 20% DR is enough to keep you alive. So having that on a 1.5 minute cooldown is quite good, right? It's pretty rare that you'd be like, oh, wait, you know, I actually want it to be more powerful. Like 99% of the time you're going to live to something being at 20% health and 20% DR, you would live with a 30% DR2. You know what I'm saying? Or you would live with this as opposed to having that. So most of the time, you just have it up more often. Here's Summon White Tiger statue, except you'll notice that it just spawns when you press when. Thank God. You used to press both of these, and one of them just didn't even feel that good. Now it's just going to spawn automatically and just do damage for free. Sounds good. And it's not over 30 seconds. It does all the damage in 10. Great change. Let's go ahead and grab it. That does damage. We're a damage player, right? We're going to do that. We have Roll removes a snare effect once every 30 seconds. There's a couple things in here that are like really, really good for PvE. There's even one in the... I think it's the Spectre where, like, when you have Zwen out, you can't... Oh, here it is. It's right here. While your Celestial is active, you cannot be slowed below 90% of normal movement speed. Roll removes a snare effect. Now you will be snaring enemies you roll through by 60%. Huge PvP buffs for sure. But even some of them could be good for raid fights. That actually, definitely, like on Razageth, that would have been interesting. Okay, either way. So Transcendence Transfer immediately heals your 50% of your max health. Could be kind of nice in a moment, but we'll hold it for now. Bounce Back is just a 1-pointer. We'll take that. And then we can kind of look down at the other capstones, but I'm just going to stay here for now. This one is Martial Instincts. Increases your physical damage done by 2% and avoidance by 2. Sounds, say less, right? You're going to take that all the time. And then we have some capstone stuff that I want to look at. Again, if I can point out a few things I don't really like about the tree. 2 points for a 2% movement speed increase for your allies, that's like crazy. You're just not going to take that. I guess maybe they tried to keep some raid buffs in because they removed Close to Heart and Generous Poor, but whatever. Let's look down at the bottom. So two really interesting here. So Escape from Reality, just like it was this expansion. No different. All right, check this out. Transcendence now tethers your spirit onto an ally for 1 hour. Use Transcendence Transfer to teleport to your ally's location. Kind of like... it's kind of like Wernstone for evokers, but different. So like if it's a fight where like your monk always wants to go to someone, you can always do that with this. This is phenomenal. This will be used in raids. This could even enable monks being brought to certain raids on certain fights because this exists. Super powerful. Really, really, really good change or thing added. This stuff over here is like kind of healing based. When your heal spells heal an ally below whatever. This is like spell harm healing, which you do cast on yourself a lot, so whatever. And then I don't know if I need the snare effects. So like down here, magical damage done increased by 2%. I don't think almost any of your damage is magic. Maybe you take that, but like highly doubt it. Pretty small. And then let's do this here. So lighter than air. Let's look at the capstones. Roll causes you to become lighter than air, allowing you to double jump to dash forward a short distance once within 5 seconds. So just like random, more crazy mobility. Sounds super fun. Flow of Chi. Above 90% health, you have faster movement speed. 90 and 35, which is most of the time. Damage taken reduced by 5% flat. Big, right? Below 35% health, healing increased by 10. So you can just sock at this and you're just chilling forever, right? So I really like that. So let's go ahead and grab that. Maybe don't know if we need the movement right now, but let's go ahead and grab the Transcendence Transfer heal and then Flow of Chi. So they removed AoE Touch of Death. Kind of a spoiler. Glad they did. And now they added Fatal Touch to the class tree. So Touch of Death increases your damage done by 5% for 30 seconds after being cast, and its cooldown is reduced by 90 seconds. Pretty cool. So Touch of Death up more often, and also you can use it as a damage increase for the rest of your spells. So this is kind of situational, but could be something that makes monks really good, right? And then on the far right, Rushing Reflexes. Your heightened reflexes allow you to react swiftly to the presence of enemies, causing you to quickly lunge at the nearest enemy in front of you within 10 yards after you roll. Okay? So probably really good for PvP. I don't know if this matters too much for PvE. And then Clash, obviously, you're able to get this as a Windwalker now. So both of those kind of cool. But as you can see, we have 4 points right now. As far as throughput is concerned, you'll grab Fatal Touch and... I don't know, maybe depending on the fight, you'd grab Escape from Reality or Transcendence, but now you have a ton of points, and what didn't we get, right? Healing Taken, we didn't get that. Maybe the Instant Vivify, you spend your 2 points. Maybe you grab Detox for a certain fight. Maybe you need an Enrage Dispel. you have a lot of options, right? This is not, you're not super locked down. You get everything you need, and you have even more than 3 points, really. I took a couple of liberties with these things down here, but you have the ability, and I don't know exactly how that works for Brewmaster and Mistweaver right now, but specifically for Windwalker, you get everything you need, and then you have the ability to choose some things that fit your situation, which I think is what the class trees are supposed to be after the leveling process, is that. So it doesn't really matter what we choose here. Let's just go ahead and slam rushing reflexes. Let's grab detox, and let's say this is a fight where we're kicking a lot, so we'll grab this. But I don't know, we don't feel like it's a big movement fight, so let's actually just grab the healing taken, right? Just like a little bit better survivability. All right, cool. Let's talk about the spec tree. Just right off the bat, so many cool stuff. I already talked about this earlier. Actually, let's build it together. So I've already built like a single target and AOE one. Let's think about single target here first, and then let's shift it to AOE after and kind of talk about all the different decisions you can make. All right, so you start out with fists, and then we get combat wisdom. So this is probably in a move to reduce the amount of buttons. Windwalker specifically, if you guys see all the like modern UIs that people use nowadays, the Windwalker one is like wider than everyone else's because they just have more buttons they need to press. Brewmaster is a little more, but like for DPS classes, Windwalker like has as many as anyone. They have definitely looked to tone that down without removing complexity of the class. So basically how they have this is every 15 seconds, your next Tiger Palm also casts Expel Harm. So basically you're just casting Expel Harm for free on its CD by just pressing Tiger Palm anyway. I'm interested to see how this plays in the rotation because obviously if you guys know how Windwalker's mastery works, there's some times where you'd want to like build chi and you don't want to Tiger Palm twice in a row. So you'd like Tiger Palm, Expel Harm, and then Tiger Palm, but maybe this, because it literally casts Expel Harm, it won't reset your mastery. I haven't actually tested that on here, but you literally have to take this. There are a few things that are required at the beginning, so it makes you want to do this. They're basically forcing you into it, which is fine, by the way. A lot of people are like, why are we forced into doing it? A lot of it is the leveling process. They like to give you this stuff at a very specific time. I actually leveled recently on the time running thing, and I really agree with it. And then they take you down a few different directions. So we're going to be thinking more single target. So we're going to grab Momentum Boost because that just kind of affects everything. And then we're going to grab Acclamation, which is just Rising Sun Kick. Increases the damage your target receives from you by 4% for 12 seconds, and then that can overlap, similar to like Iron Fur, for example, not like Festermite. We'll get back to this later because they added some more Rising Sun Kick stuff. Okay, so now we have to go Ascension, which you guys know of, or we can go Dual Threat. Your auto attacks have 20% chance to instead kick your target instead, dealing 16k physical damage and increasing your damage dealt by 5% for 5 seconds. So this is an auto attack thing, and a lot of Windwalkers are automatically like, I hate auto attacks. You don't auto attack when you Fist of Fury. You don't auto attack when you Dance of Chi-Ji, like when you're channeling things. So that's why this exists. So like they're basically increasing your auto attack speed after something like Fists, so like you get more value out of it, and they've done some things auto attack related, which we'll have to wait and see how they work, but I think the idea is pretty cool. So let's go down and let's just grab Dual Threat. Keep Ascension for now. And then Glory of the Dawn kind of just helps us path down into a lot of this area. So now we have this unlocked, this middle section, which I'll kind of show you once we can unlock it. So we have to spend one more point here. We could either grab Ascension, Hardened Souls, or Touch of the Tiger. Now immediately read Tiger Palm damage, and you're like, I'm not sure about that. They added more things down here to kind of like, not like exponentially ramp, but like ramp Tiger Palm damage that like stacks over time. I'd be very interested to see if Tiger Palm's gonna be more of a point in your rotation. But we'll wait on that. So right here, Blackout Kick, I don't know, let's just take Ascension, right? We're not going down to get Mark of the Crane. This is kind of like pure single situation. Guys, Serenity is gone. Some people will not like this. I've always hated Serenity. I think Storm, Earth, and Fire is so iconic to monks. I just think it's just a better button. You're a class that can have cooldowns all the time. I'm such a fan of that. If some people like Serenity, rip to that, but I personally, I literally wouldn't even play this as a spec if Serenity was the like go-to spell. I just think it didn't line up with cooldowns. You overcapped resources. There's so many ways to make it better, but they didn't. But I have something really cool to show you that they kind of baked Serenity into Storm, Earth, and Fire in a really cool way. All right, so let's just say we take Storm, Earth, and Fire. Makes sense. That's your cooldown. And then right away, let's just grab Zwen. That's a 2-minute. You get both of your things right away, no thinking, and you still have 10 more points to spend in the middle of this tree. And boy, is there a lot to talk about here. So Number one, spiritual focus is no longer tied behind Meridian Strikes. Meridian Strikes off to the right if you still want it, whatever. Okay, so now you have a choice node between Drinking Horn Cover and Spiritual Focus. Something you would like to have both of, but it is an actual interesting choice node. There are scenarios where you want to have your cooldown last for longer, and there are scenarios where you would want to have your cooldown be up more often based on the scenario. I like that. I think that choice node totally tracks. And we're going to talk about the next thing here, why you're going to have a little bit more chi happening and more spenders happening. Ordered elements. During Storm, Earth, and Fire, Rising Sun Kick reduces chi costs by 1 for 5 seconds, and Blackout Kick reduces the cooldown of affected abilities by an additional 1 second. So when you're in Storm, Earth, and Fire, your Rising Sun Kick, which is probably going to be up all the time from doing this, is going to make your Blackout Kick free, and it's going to make your Fist of Fury only cost 2. So it's like a little bit of a mini Serenity built inside of it, but without capping resources. I think this is an excellent middle ground between those two things. Also, when you activate it, Rising Sun Kick is immediately available and it grants 2 chi. So you'd want a Rising Sun Kick and then press this and then do it again. Okay, so let's just take that. That sounds awesome, right? We're single target gamers. That just sounds really, really cool. This kind of depends on the scenario, but it's whatever. Right now, we're not super Blackout Kick focused. Let's look at some of this new stuff on the right. So let's grab Brawler's Intensity, which is just the cooldown of Rising Sun Kick just in general reduced by 1 second and the damage of Blackout Kick increased by 10. Let's grab Strike of the Windlord, and let's look at the 2 things that are under Strike of the Windlord. So they still have Inner Peace. I just hate that this exists. I'm just going to ignore that, but it doesn't really keep you from getting anywhere. So Tiger Palm's energy cost reduction, a little bit different than how this works on live. So this is Tiger Palm damage increase. Tiger Palm energy reduction could feel a lot different, right? This might be a much better node. Rushing Jade Wind, no longer inactive. When you press Strike of the Windlord, it just puts up a Rushing Jade Wind for, I'm assuming based on your haste, a certain amount of seconds. And looks like it does actually quite a lot of damage. So it's no longer inactive. Rushing Jade Wind, the main problem with it was just it as a button was so bad. 6-second maintenance buff, not enough damage to really use. If you ever actually were supposed to play Rushing Jade Wind because of tuning, it just, what a doomsday that would have been. Thunder Fist, right? Thunder Fist, you don't really think about this a lot because Thunder Fist is kind of weird to actually get these all off because you have to auto attack. Strike of the Windlord grants you 4 stacks of Thunder Fist and an additional stack for each enemy struck. So you get 4 off the bat even on single target, and then for each individual one struck, and then it'll do discharge upon melee strikes dealing damage in an AoE, right? But now you're actually going to be able to get all those stacks off because of the auto attack speed increase from Momentum Boost. So doing something like Fist of Fury, Thunder Fist into that, or Thunder Fist, Fist of Fury, you should be able to actually discharge these much faster because of that change. So I'm really looking forward to that. Thunder Fist does a ton of damage. And then Rushing Jade Wind seems fun. I don't know in like a single target scenario if this is the move, but just a cool idea nonetheless. And now we have 6 more points to spend before we really get into the capstone level of this tree. Dance of Chi-Ji, while commonly seen as an AoE ability, is a really, really fun single target ability. Like I think Windwalker Monks single target is actually significantly more interesting with Chi-Ji procs moved in there. So I kind of want to talk about a few buttons on the way over here. So let's go ahead and just grab, I don't know, we played Drinking Horn, covered the entire last expansion, and Bone Dust Brew isn't here anymore. So let's just maybe just go Spiritual Focus. Okay, Energy Burst. When you consume Blackout Kick, you have a 100% chance to generate 1 chi. Sounds pretty good, but I'm not sold on it yet. So Teachings of the Monastery, say less. Love that. This does stack up to 8 now, by the way. And I think that's with something... Yeah, okay, you need a capstone thing to make that work, but it just says it right now. I'm a little tempted to get Jade Ignition, but we're going to talk about that when we go down the AoE side of the tree. So Blackout Kick also increases the damage of your next Blackout Kick by 175%. Let's do that. And then let's grab Energy Burst. And then we can get Dance of Chi-Ji for single target. What are we missing here? Hit combo. Okay, this hit combo, you'll still probably take it. I'm not the biggest fan, but hey, 6% damage all the time. We need that, right? And then maybe just to make this a little bit more interesting down at the bottom, let's grab Dance of Chi-Ji. Not to mention it just feels really good in single target anyway. All right, now we have the capstone, boys. So let's talk about Strike of the Windlord a little more. So Thunder Fist, we talked about Rushing Jade Wind. Let's just talk about Strike of the Windlord's purpose in the rotation. They gave you the ability to have this button really matter. So it's on a 30-second cooldown base now. But look at this, Gale Force. Targets struck by Strike of the Windlord are sent reeling from the impact, causing them to become vulnerable for 10 seconds. Your abilities have a 100% chance to affect the target a second time at 10% effectiveness as nature damage while they are vulnerable. So It's an interesting way to say you just do 10% more damage for 10 seconds, so it becomes like a mini damage window inside of your Storm, Earth, and Fire, or whatever other situation you would be doing it under. But also your abilities affecting the target a second time might have interesting interactions with Rising Sun Kick and Zwen's Battle Gear, or Rising Sun Kick and a few of these other ones here, kind of forgetting where they're at, but there's some other, oh yeah, like Ordered Elements, for example, right? So let's just take that because that just sounds really interesting. And then there's one more. Strike of the Windlord's cooldown is reduced by 10 seconds, becoming a 20-second cooldown, meaning you're having a 50% uptime on that. Oh, wait. Actually, let me double-check that. I think this might actually be 40 seconds, and the only reason it's 30 seconds is because I have this. I'll have to test that more. But either way, damage increased by 20% and 10 seconds off, which makes sense if you're getting things that increase its damage and make you do more damage by pressing it, right? 2 points here. I'm really interested into why Rising Star and Crane Vortex are like this, where it seems like a lot of AoE stuff is on the left and single target stuff's on the right. But either way, there's two 2-point nodes here that are just for Rising Sun Kick and Crane Vortex. Yes, Jadefire Stomp is still in the game. Yes, the choice node that makes Jadefire Stomp so bad, in my opinion, still exists in Jadefire Harmony. Brutal in my opinion, but hopefully you don't have to take it for me. So let's skip the Crane Vortex here. Let's grab Invoker's Delight. You guys are very well aware of what that does. Let's grab Transfer the Power. Let's grab Fury. Let's hold Fury's Zwen. Let's take Zwen's Battle Gear. I think it's essential to the rotation now. And then let's maybe skip Zwen's Bond and Sky Touch right now. We still have 5 points remaining. So I want to show like kind of what they did with Whirling Dragon Punch a little bit. So, and also another point here, you have a 100% chance to gain Blackout Kick after consuming Dance of Chi-Ji. We have a ton of synergy with that, right? Blackout Kick increases the damage of your next Blackout Kick by 175%. When you consume this, you generate 1 Chi. You have Dance of Chi-Ji already, and now it's always going to be Dance of Chi-Ji right into a free Blackout Kick. Super good, right? So let's take that. That sounds really good. They have Last Emperor's Capacitor still here. I'm not opposed to this being a thing. I just think they have to tune it, right? Like, when Last Emperor's Capacitor was something you played, it was really fun. It just hasn't been good enough because Crackling Jade Lightning's damage isn't good enough. I have no idea if it is now. I haven't tested it. But that's just still there. Just wanted to point that out. And then let's grab Whirling Dragon Punch. Now, Whirling Dragon Punch, is it a little bit redundant with Zwen's Battle Gear? Maybe, but let's see what they actually did with it. So we have 2 things at the bottom here. So Whirling Dragon Punch has a 100% chance to activate Dance of Chi-Ji. Talk about a combo. You could be doing Whirling Dragon Punch into a Dance of Chi-Ji, into a Blackout. You see the bit going on here, right? But maybe let's just say, hey, that's a little bit too much going on. You already have to weave in Rising Sun Kick, and you have something that reduces the cooldown of that. And part of the issue with Whirling Dragon Punch with Zwen's Battle Gear is that you just have so much CDR, especially if you're going to have a little bit of haste now. Like, yeah, that's kind of weird. Like, I think maybe that's a little too much going on. Okay, we have another node. Whirling Dragon Punch grants 4 stacks of Teachings of the Monastery, and its damage is increased by 20% just in general. And then now that can stack up to 8 times. Oh my lord, what will happen if you can get 175% increased damage on your next Blackout Kick and 8 stacks of Teachings of the Monastery and Shadow Boxing Treads or something like that? Just crazy. Anyways, let's take that because that's fun, right? And now we have 2 more points. You're not locked into anything. We already chose to get like Thunder Fist and all the Strike of the Windlord stuff for fun. We could maybe just grab Rising Star. You're casting Rising Sun Kick a lot, but I don't know. You could maybe, is 2 points of Rising Star actually better than Zwen's Bond and Sky Reach or Sky Touch? Oh wait, is Sky Reach gone? I think Sky Reach might be gone. Or Fury of Zwen? Not sure. I would actually probably opt to have both of these things, right? But then look at that. It's just like a single target build. This is going to play great. I can't wait to spend some more time on the PTR. But now let's maybe look at this from an AoE point of view. This one will be a lot faster. Okay, so we're starting with AoE, right? So you need Combat Wisdom, you need Flying Serpent Kick to path down. Let's maybe, Acclamation I think still really works for an AoE setup, but let's hold on this point for now. We're going to grab Momentum Boost, we're going to skip the Tiger Palm damage, grab Hardened Souls, grab Mark of the Crane, and then let's kind of see what we got going on here. Alright, so we have 1 more point to spend. We don't really need to go down the Glory of the Dawn route, because we can still get Strike of the Windlord without it. So maybe let's just grab Ascension. Ascension's always felt good at an AoE build, right? Let's grab a Storm, Earth, and Fire. Let's grab Zwen. Let's grab Ordered Elements. Let's grab Hit Combo. Let's grab Strike of the Windlord. Let's grab Rushing Jade Wind this time for like better AoE from Strike of the Windlord. And let's grab Thunder Fist. Kind of greedy, but we just grabbed a bunch of stuff on the right side. Let's talk about the left, which we haven't looked at yet. Shadow Boxing Treads, say less. Jade Ignition. We can talk about it, but I like a world where Dance of Chi-Ji is really powerful, and Jade Ignition kind of just gives that a lot more power, something you're not pressing all the time, but we are running out of buttons. So let's, I don't know, get Teachings of the Monastery goes good in AoE blackout kick situations. Let's grab Drinking Horn cover this time. Say you don't really need Storm, Earth, and Fire up more, but you'd rather just have it last longer for the pull, which is the opposite of what we did last time. We have Shadowboxing Tread, so let's go Blackout Kick here. And then we can either get Blackout Kick increases the damage of your Tiger Palm. That sounds omega bad, right? Or we can just get Dance of Chi-Ji and move on. Jade Ignition can be something we maybe go back to later, but let's just grab an AoE, more of an AoE setup now, right? So you're going to be Dance of Chi-Jiing, right? So you can get that Blackout Kick for Shadowboxing Treads. Let's grab Invoker's Delight, Zwen's Battle Gear, Transfer the Power. You guys know what's up. And then we haven't done this AoE thing on the right. That could be good. But this we could also get Spinning Crane Kick damage. You don't have to grab this. This could just be 2 points. Let's actually leave that because it's just a buff on one spell. So like if you want to get all the cool stuff, in my opinion, it's like definitely not Last Emperor's Capacitor. It's Whirling Dragon Punch. It's that. It's Gale Force. It's Communion with the Wind. And now we just kind of have that same thing, except we just have some points on the right, on the left to sustain an AoE build. You're not losing your full single target identity by playing AoE or vice versa. There are points there to move it around to both. In fact, Spinning Crane Kick here, unless Spinning Crane Kick absolutely owns, I don't know. I almost, in this scenario, would rather play Fury of Zwen. I would rather play Jade Ignition, potentially, based on tuning. Although it's not going to change your gameplay at all. It's just going to make your Spinning Crane Kick feel better. Also possible that Energy Burst is good in this scenario. But, yeah, I don't know. I like a lot of this stuff. Fury of Zwen, you know, pick your poison. Pick what you want, right? All right, so if you guys have spent some time watching this and you've played Windwalker so far, the choices that you make and the points that lead to other points actually made sense. They built out Strike of the Windlord. They built out Whirling Dragon Punch and bringing it back into a Zwen's Battle Gear world, which it was not in the last time it was something you picked a lot. You know, they gave, I don't know, there's probably like 10 new things on here. They baked Mini Serenity into Storm, Earth, and Fire. They made Rising Sun Kick more important. They made an actual stat matter that isn't Mastery or Verse, or just, I guess, Verse, Crit, Mastery, like kind of all just being okay. Right? They made Rushing Jade Wind not an on-use ability. They targeted so many things of issues that I had with the class, with only a few remaining and being Jade Fire Stomp existing. And the class tree is just 10 times better than what it used to be. Hey guys, Max from the future here. You guys just watched a video about my first impressions of the Windwalker class and spec tree. I did a bunch of dungeons on it afterwards, so I thought I'd just give you a little heads up. I tried basically everything on this tree. I just want to point out a few nodes that I thought were really cool. So everything after Strike of the Windlord is awesome. I think Rushing Jade Wind might not do quite enough damage, but it like totally makes sense and it synergizes really well with Communion. Really enjoyed Whirling Dragon. Okay, Whirling Dragon Punch didn't make a lot of sense with Zwen's Battle Gear. We've talked about that before. When you add Knowledge of the Broken Temple, I can't show you an old recount I had from here. Recount's the only one that works on Alpha right now. It's a really basic add-on. Love that. Blackout Kick was way lower on my breakdown, and Fist of Fury won by a mile over the next thing. Blackout Kick shot to like #1 damage when using this just because of this thing. Like giving 4, it makes Whirling Dragon Punch so much more valuable of a use with this extra point. It feels so great in the rotation to have. So love having that back. And just overall everything here, the whole this I cannot emphasize enough how good this is. It's like turning your Storm, Earth, and Fire into a mini Serenity. You absolutely crank. As you can see, I was doing huge dam. Like, I mean, not that the damage at this point really matters at all. It's just to kind of see the difference between spells. I will say, not a huge fan of really either of the hero talents currently. Shadowpan, like, kind of just exists, and Wisdom of the Wall is, you know, just kind of procs whenever. But it's, like, really powerful when it's there, but it's hard to, like, line up with stuff. And then Con of the Celestials is better than I thought, especially this Heart of the Jade Serpent thing, and it doesn't feel awful to use. But both of them just don't seem super impactful. You don't even realize you're playing with Shadowpan, really. It's just, like, random damage. But, yeah, also your energy economy is way different. Like, currently Combat Wisdom isn't working, so that really matters. You're just literally never able to cast Expel Harm. But, like, you know how you always press Expel Harm and you keep up your chi between pulls? That's, like, not a thing anymore, which is kind of weird. But not saying it's necessarily bad. And then also, like, I found myself even talenting out of some other stuff, like Zwen's Bond or, you know, Fury of Zwen for Inner Peace. Because Inner Peace now, Tiger Palm's energy is reduced by 5. That matters a lot because Chi Burst no longer gives Chi. Don't know if that's a bug or not. They also completely changed Chi Wave. But yeah, I don't know. It felt a lot better. It felt really fun. I had so much fun. I could just keep doing dungeons on this character. I haven't even played another character because of how fun this is. Really looking forward to seeing how you guys interact with it. Anyways, see ya. Bye. See you later. See ya.